Eukaryotic microbes include some species of algae and fungi, and all protozoa, lichens, and slime molds. So first, we discuss about algae. Algae is a photosynthetic, means it's capable of photosynthesis. So they produce their own energy. So their source of food is from iodine and minerals. Also, it is the major producer of oxygen. So it is plant-like, protist. So it is not considered as a plant because it lacks of true roots, stem, and leaves. It is a eukaryotic organisms and belongs to the kingdom of protists. Algae can be found between in freshwater, saltwater, or in a wet soil and on a wet rocks. All algae cells consist of cytoplasm, a cell wall, a cell membrane, a nucleus, a plastid, ribosomes, the mitochondria, and a Golgi body. So, algae has a pellicle, stigma, and flagella. The pellicle is a thickened cell membrane or the protective functions of the algae. The stigma is a light sensing or the eye spot. It serves as the receiving light stimuli to receptive. The third is the flagella. It is a whip-like structures allow a cell to move in algae. Algae can be a unicellular or a multicellular. Example is the seaweeds. While the cell wall of the algae is made of the cellulose. Cellulose is a polysaccharide found in the cell walls of algae and plants. Algae considered to be a microorganisms that includes diatoms, dinoflagellates, and the many different types of green algae. Diatoms are tiny, usually unicellular algae that live in the both freshwater and seawater. Important ini as a member of the phytoplankton. While the dinoflagellate, it is a microscopic unicellular. So, same lagi upon hira diatoms, they are unicellular. So, often they are a photosynthetic algae. So, also, it dinoflagellate, important member gihapon niya ha, phytoplankton. By the way, when we say phytoplankton, it is a microscopic marine plants and algae that are components of plankton. So it can see in our or visible to our naked eye. Dinoflagellate, they're the one who producing much of the oxygen in our atmosphere and serving as important links in food chains. It is responsible for what we know as the red tides. So, algae are only very rarely a cause of human infection. Protothecoses is an example of a human algae infections because some algae contain mga substances that are poisonous to human, fish, and other microorganisms. So, algae, dire lahira na cause-in human infection. Also, may dagihap mga advantages or important in our ecosystem. Algae are important source of foods and other microorganisms, iodine and other minerals, fertilizer, emulsifiers for feeding, and stabilizer for ice cream and the salad dressing. They are also used as a gelling agent for jams, and nutrients media for bacterial growth. Again, algae is a eukaryotic, a photosynthetic organism that range in a size from unicellular to multicellular. It includes many seaweeds. Again, it is the major producer of oxygen. Protozoa is a eukaryotic organism. It belongs to the kingdom of protists. It is a unicellular and a pre-living organism that can live in both soil and water. It has no chloroplast, so it cannot make their own food and don't have no chlorophyll. So, it protozoa para hira make it era own food. Ito rin gibubuhat, they ingest whole algae, yeast, bacteria, or the other small protozoan as a source of their nutrients. So, it iba na mga protozoa na live in a dead, decaying organic materials. Since protozoa is a parasitic which feed on organic matter such as the other microorganisms or organic tissues and debris. Protozoa possess animal-like behaviors such as motility and predation, and it is a lack of cell wall. Motility. It is capable of movement. So protozoa is capable of movement, and predation is the act of killing and eating other animals. So, like the protozoa, they ate or live in the decaying animals or dead animals. Protozoas don't have a cell wall, but they have a flagellate and ciliate. Possesses a pellicle which serves the same purpose of a cell wall or the protections. So some flagellate and ciliates na ingested food through a primitive mouth or opening called a cytostome. So typically, a protozoan's life cycle consists of two stages, the tribozyte and the non-motile cyst stage. So the difference is the tribozyte and the non-motile cyst stage is simply tribozyte is a motile and the non-motile cyst stage is a non-motile. Tribozyte is where a protozoan feeding and dividing in protozoan's life, whereas a non-motile cyst stage is a dormant or the survival stage for the protozoans. So, some protozoa are said to be a parasitic, where it is a or break down and absorb nutrients from the body or the host in which they live. So, this protozoans is commonly or the parasites of a human body. Protozoa divided into four major groups. That is the ciliates, amoeba, the flagellate, and the porozoa. So, ciliates, such as Belanthidium and Paramecium, move about by the means of a large numbers of hair-like cilia or their surface. So, they use the hair-like cilia of the protozoa for them to move. While the flagellate protozoa for them to move, they use or by the means of whip-like flagella. Amoeba protozoan or the sarcodines, it is a unicellular, jelly-like protozoa that can be found in fresh or seawater and in moist soil. Sporozoan is a non-motile. It involving both asexual and sexual generations, often in different hosts, and it includes the important pathogens like malaria parasites. Again, protozoa is a eukaryotic microorganisms that frequently found in water and soil. So some are pathogens and usually a unicellular. So fungi, it is a eukaryotic, non-photosynthetic unlike the algae and plant that can be either a saprophytic or parasitic. Saprophyte means an organism that lives on dead or decaying organic materials, such as an organism is said to be saprophytic. So, it mga kuan organism nga na-live ngadtohan mga like mga patay na nga hayop, ayun. While a parasitic or parasite, it is an organism that lives on or in another living organisms and derives benefit from the host. So, amini na lives into a body of organisms that also benefited by itself called the host. The cell wall of fungi is contain chitin. So, chitin, it is a polysaccharide found in fungal cell walls but not found in the cell walls of other microorganisms. Also found in the exoskeleton of beetles and grubs. Chitin is not commonly found in cell wall of some organism, but there are in specific organism like the beetles and grubs. It is the primary carbohydrate storage of glycogen and glucose since it has no chlorophyll. So fungi is also considered as the garbage disposer since they're the one who decompose the inorganic materials, the dead decaying animals. So the filaments of fungi is called hyphae. So hyphae means it is a long, thin, intertwined cytoplasmic filaments that make up a mold colony. Hyphae has two types, the septate hyphae and aseptate hyphae. So the difference between these two types is that septate hyphae, the cytoplasm is divided into two cells by the cross walls or septa, while the asepta or the aseptate is not divided into cells or because it has no septa that divided into. So here are the 5 phyla of fungi. First is the Ascomycota. It is the antibiotics or sac fungi. The second is Basidiomycota. It is the club fungi. While the Chytridiomycota, water molds. So literally it is in the water. And the fourth is the Deuteromycota. It is an imperfect fungi. Last is the Zygomycota. It is the mold in the bread. So, again, fungi are found almost everywhere on the earth. So, mabibilngan natin niya bisan diin. Kasama na ito nagsinisaring an saprophytic fungi. They can also live in the decaying animals or dead animals. They can live in water, soil, and other living or within animals and plants. Tas amo na to pwede ra mag-live nga dahan animals. Okay, because it is said to be a parasitic or the saprophyte. However, some fungi are harmful, whereas other are beneficial. Like they are important in the produce of cheese, beer, wine, and other foods, as well as certain drugs. So fungi is not considered as a plant. As what I've said earlier, one of the ways in which fungi reproduce is through spores production. The two general types of fungal spores are asexual reproductions and asexual spores. So the yeast is also a type of fungi. So it is a unicellular organism or the lack of mycelia. So yeast is reproduced by budding. Also molds is the fungi. That filamentous fungi that produce aerial mycelium. So molds is produced in aerial mycelium. So it is also present or commonly in bread, yes, and yeast. So it reproduces, it's either sexual or asexual. So here are the example of fungal infections of human. The superficial and cutaneous mycosis and the subcutaneous and systematic mycosis. Lichens. It is the combinations of two organisms between the algae and fungus. And that's what we call a symbiotic relationship. So that close relationship that appear or makes a one organisms, which is a lichens, and also appear as the parasitism and mutualism. So, when we say mutualism, it is a symbiotic relationship in which both parties derive benefits. So both algae and fungus can benefit. While the mutualism, so one party it benefits. That's what while the other is harm. So maybe algae is beneficial or fungus give harm or it can be interchanged. Slime molds which are found in soil and on rotten logs. So it is the combinations of the organisms which is the fungi and protozoa. So it transferred out from the kingdom of fungi and placed in the kingdom of protozoa. So, from the kingdom of fungi to kingdom of protozoa. So, slime molds have very complex life cycles. So ma-start siya amoeba. Tapos ma-progress siya into a multicellular organisms. So slime molds does not cause human disease. Many slime molds are cellular. Slime molds do not spend most of the time a certain place. So when the food is abundant, so ang mga slime molds na existera as a single cell organism. However, when the food is short supply of food rather, many of these single celled organism co-congregate hira tapos ma-start moving as a single body. Yan nga nagdudurog ko tera, tapos na-form na herahin shape. So, tapos nagiging sensitive hera to airborne chemicals and can detect sources. Mga sources is a food sources. Ito nagsanisaring na they can readily change the shape and functions of parts. Amo na ito nga na-form yan stalk that produce a protein bodies. Ito niya na protein bodies na release yahin damo na force na light enough to be carried a wind by passing animals. So usually the slime molds feed on organism because that they live in any type of a dead plant material. So they contribute to a decompositions of dead vegetations and feed the bacteria and fungi. Since adahera na commonly found in soil tapos sa mga rotting logs of plants. So this is the process of slime molds. So it starts with the pores, down to germinating spores, to amoeba cells that eat bacteria. So the next is they become aggregations and experiencing a migration stage. To differentiations that slime molds can have a stalk, cells, and spores down to the last stage which is the sporanglophore, and amoeba has already a stalk cells, and then these slime molds will go back to the spores. It is a continuous process of a life cycle of slime molds.